All right, welcome back. Is Saul also among the giants? This is a look at evidence in the Bible that the first king of Israel, Saul, may have actually been partly descended from the giants that are also mentioned in the Bible. It will take a look at evidence in the Bible and also what this may mean for us even to the present day. In the Bible we can find the question, is Saul also among the prophets? But we might also wonder if Saul the king was descended from giants, also mentioned in the Bible. There are many peculiar passages in the Bible that could very well indicate that he was at least closely connected with the giant race, and that he could indeed have been descended from them, at least in part. One of the first things we learn about King Saul from the Bible is that he was head and shoulders taller than any of the people, and that his father was a mighty man of power. This alone doesn't necessarily make Saul or his father descendants of the evil giants of old, but it's a telling statement. Now let's take a look at the name of the first king of Israel. Only 3 other people in the Bible had the name Saul or another form Shaul. 2 were not fully Israelites. One was the Edomite prince Saul of Rehoboth. Another was Shaul, the son of a Canaanitish woman, and of course Saul of Tarsus, but his name was changed to Paul for good reason. The meaning of the name itself is even more startling. It means to ask or inquire. Ask what? Inquire of whom? The dead. And this is one of the last things the cursed king himself did. Living up to his name, he seemed fated to trespass against God with such an act. The name Saul is certainly connected to the related word Sheol, the Hebrew word for Hades or hell, the abode of the dead. Another intriguing fact about other names in Saul's family is the frequency of the name Baal, not found among most Israelites. Most Bible readers know quickly that this is not a good name. King Saul's uncle was named Baal. 2 of Saul's sons were Eshbaal and Meribbaal. One of Saul's grandsons was also called Meribbaal. Baal, the inveterate enemy of Israel, was so offensive to Israel that his name was translated out of names in the Bible. So the word Bosheth was substituted for Baal, and names like Eshbaal and Meribbaal became Ishbosheth and Mephibosheth, and so on. A close look at where Saul was from might raise some eyebrows. According to the scriptures, Saul's hometown was Gibeah, in land nearby and including the city of Jerusalem, allotted to Saul's ancestral tribe, the Benjamites. According to the Bible, the most important thing known about this place is the unspeakable incident in the book of Judges, chapter 19. Apparently, Gibeah and its environs had been much taken over by people termed the sons of Belial. It's not certain just who these people were. They were undoubtedly connected to the tribe of Benjamin in some way, but it's not certain how, whether through casual contact or actual interbreeding. The crime attributed to offenders in lands of the tribe of Benjamin began as a homosexual impulse, similar to what transpired in Sodom ages before. Homosexuality appears to have been prominent among the Canaanites and the giants with whom they intermingled. It seemed also to be prominent among the Benjamites, no doubt through their contact with the Gibeonites or Amorites. Indeed, it seems to have been in Saul's family. Saul had even accused his own son Jonathan of homosexuality, whether real or imagined. The Bible further records how most of the tribe of Benjamin was consequently wiped out by the other Israelite tribes. The justification of this was the Benjamites either perpetrated the horrible act or stood by when it was done, or a mixture of both. But one might ask if God had another reason for wiping out most of the tribe of Benjamin. Had they mixed with the alien Amorites, Jebusites, and others, and thereby interbred with remnants of an alien giant race? Was God cleansing the tribe of Benjamin and Israel from giant blood? King Saul and his family were closely connected to the city of Gibeon, close to his hometown. Gibeon had been, according to the Bible, a great city, and all its men were mighty. Near Jerusalem, Gibeon had also been allotted to the tribe of Benjamin. Gibeon was also set apart for the Levites. The inhabitants of Gibeon had been a so-called remnant of the Amorites and related Hivites. The tribe of Benjamin had not driven out the enemies of Israel from their allotted land and was living among them, and were certainly intermarried with many of them. Even though Gibeon was one of the most important cities of the Amorites and its inhabitants were as strong as any of the other Amorites, it decided not to fight openly with Joshua and the Israelites. It decided it was futile to fight openly, but to use deceit. This is recounted in the book of Joshua chapter 9. This is the point at which the giants clearly determined to use their greatest weapon, deceit and treachery, not their physical stature and fighting prowess. From then on, they would operate as a hidden element within Israel through disguise and outright admixture. It would no longer be very easy to determine who the giants are. It's interesting that David never mixed with the line of King Saul and the tribe of Benjamin. Saul had been very treacherous in offering his daughters in marriage. David had several chances to marry into the family of Saul. Saul had promised his daughter Merab to David, but she was given to someone else. David did finally marry Saul's daughter Michal, but there were no children from this union. Saul's tribe had the rights to Jerusalem. By marrying into the family of Saul, David's royal line would have sealed its throne with rights to Jerusalem. So why would God block this? Was the Almighty trying to keep the royal line of David from Saul's line? Why? Was it to keep the true royal line of David pure, not to mix with giants by way of Saul's family? What's more, Saul and his family appeared to be cursed. The Bible relates a tragic tale of the fall of Saul and the sad destruction of his family. Saul simply could not obey God. It just didn't seem to be in his makeup to carry out the commands of God by way of the prophet Samuel. Was there some deep, darker reason for Saul's failings? Was it just because he let his weaknesses overcome himself? Or was it something else? Was it because he was descended from the rebel giant race? Saul puzzlingly spared King Agag, who was certainly a descendant of the giants. Saul's visit to the Witch of Endor is just about unthinkable from an Israelite perspective. After the death of Saul, David praised Saul and his son Jonathan, "How are the mighty fallen?" Was there a hidden message in David's song? The song seems to sing the praises of Saul, but David clearly knew Saul had done nothing but seek David's destruction, often through treachery and deceit. David also knew that Saul's wrath was unwarranted and baseless. David had shown Saul to his face several times that David would not lift up his hand against Saul, and David made this known. Was David careful with his words so as not to accuse Saul even after Saul was gone, and even though David would have been justified in doing so? Was David's song really referring to the fall of Satan and the giants? So if Saul was a descendant of a rebel giant race, why would God have chosen him to be king of Israel in the first place? I think it was to show that God would give even the rebels a chance to rule, to forever show that they couldn't obey God and bring about his rule on earth. In the Bible, the tribe of Benjamin is portrayed most heroically in the book of Esther, but the story is a bit suspicious. The vicious, violent retribution of the supposed heroes of the Jews in this book just doesn't quite fit with what we would expect from a people doing the will of God. And the names of the story's heroes, Esther and Mordecai, are just forms of the names of the gods Ishtar and Marduk, important not to Israel but to its enemies. Ishtar and Marduk would have been very important to the Amorites and their giant cousins who ruled Babylon for some time. Some believe the story of Esther is not authentic nor a real account. Whether it is or isn't, one might wonder if it has survived merely to justify and glorify the ruling house of Benjamin, that is, that of Saul, and would that mean also the house of giants? So what does this mean for all of us today? It's believed that the Hasmonean dynasty that ruled Israel shortly before the birth of Christ was also from the tribe of Benjamin. They fought tenaciously and valiantly for Israel, winning independence for a relatively short time. But this was also a ruthless and violent dynasty. It soon descended into corruption, usurping their rule from the rightful line of David and changing the priesthood from the rightful lines of Levi and Aaron. And the dynasty also brought in aliens and the Edomite Herods to rule and control Israel. It seemed to echo the dynasty of Saul. Were they related? Well, many of the aristocratic families of Europe are almost certainly descended from the Hasmoneans, and thus probably Saul. So if Saul was partly descended from the evil giants of old, then so are probably many in the European nobility, even royal families. Even though most of Saul's line tragically died out, it appears some did survive. There are accounts that much of the tribe of Benjamin migrated into Europe by various means. Not all of the tribe of Benjamin would have necessarily been mixed with an ancient giant race, but it would have included Saul's line, probably long smarting from the loss of kingship for ages and probably seeking to regain the throne. Are remnants of the evil giants with us today in the ruling halls of Europe? Are they plotting to put mankind under their tyrannical rule again as in days of old? I think that they are. What's more, Saul's tribe was symbolized by a rapacious wolf. Did this manifest itself in times past in the symbol of the she-wolf used by ancient Romans? Did the tribe of Benjamin play a part in building the Roman Empire? This doesn't mean that all of the tribe of Benjamin is cursed. In fact, there is another blessing on the tribe of Benjamin, which I believe was fulfilled by the Apostle Paul and the other apostles of Jesus Christ, but this is for another discussion. Just about everyone knows the expression wolf in sheep's clothing. Jesus himself warned us to beware of false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly are ravening wolves. Will the false prophet also be a descendant of Saul of the tribe of Benjamin? Just as Saul had Samuel summoned from the dead out of the depths of the earth, is it the false prophet that summons the Antichrist from the bottomless pit?